Richard Kuklinski was a name whispered in the shadowy corners of the criminal underworld. Known as the Iceman, Kuklinski was a notorious contract killer believed to be responsible for over 100 murders. His chilling moniker stemmed from his gruesome method of freezing his victims, a practice that masked their time of death and confounded authorities for years. Kuklinski's life of crime spanned decades, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and unsolved mysteries. His story offers a chilling glimpse into the mind of a man seemingly devoid of empathy, a man who operated with calculated precision and terrifying indifference. Richard Kuklinski's path to becoming the infamous Iceman began in the poverty-stricken streets of Jersey City, New Jersey. The city, known for its bustling urban life, was also a place where the shadows of poverty and crime loomed large. For many, it was a place of struggle and hardship, and for young Richard, it was the crucible that would shape his dark future. Born in 1935, Kuklinski endured a brutal upbringing marred by his father's alcoholism and physical abuse. His father, Stanley Kuklinski, was a man plagued by his own demons, often taking out his frustrations on his children. The beatings were frequent and severe, leaving physical and emotional scars that would never fully heal. His mother, Anna, while not physically abusive, was emotionally distant and often turned a blind eye to the violence inflicted upon her children. She was a devout Catholic, and her strict religious beliefs often clashed with the chaotic reality of their home life. Anna's neglect and emotional coldness only added to the toxic environment, leaving Richard feeling isolated and unloved. This toxic environment fostered a deep-seated rage within young Richard, a rage that would fester and eventually explode into violence. The constant abuse and neglect created a simmering anger that he struggled to control. This anger became a defining feature of his personality, influencing his actions and decisions for years to come. By his early teens, Kuklinski was already exhibiting disturbing behavior, engaging in acts of animal cruelty, and displaying a blatant disregard for authority. These early signs of psychopathy were alarming, but in the chaotic environment of his home and neighborhood, they went largely unnoticed. His cruelty towards animals was a precursor to the violence he would later inflict on humans. He dropped out of school, his formal education ending in the 8th grade. The lack of a stable educational environment and the constant turmoil at home made it impossible for him to focus on his studies. The streets of Jersey City became his new classroom, where he learned the harsh lessons of survival and crime. The streets became his classroom, and crime became his trade. In the absence of positive role models, Richard found himself drawn to the criminal elements of his neighborhood. He quickly learned that power and respect could be earned through fear and violence. He started with petty theft and burglaries, small-time crimes that gave him a taste of the power and control he craved. These early criminal activities were just the beginning of his descent into a life of crime. Graduating to more serious offenses as his thirst for power and control grew, Richard's criminal activities escalated. He became involved in more dangerous and violent crimes, each one pushing him further down a dark path. His reputation as a ruthless and efficient criminal began to grow. Kuklinski's descent into utter darkness was further fueled by the casual brutality he witnessed within his own family. The violence at home was a constant reminder of the power dynamics that ruled his life. It taught him that might made right, and that compassion was a weakness. His older brother Florian died from injuries inflicted by their father, a death the family deceptively explained as an accident. This tragic event was a turning point for Richard, solidifying his belief that life was cheap and that death was an ever-present reality. The family's attempt to cover up the true cause of Florian's death only added to the sense of betrayal and mistrust that Richard felt. This event, coupled with years of abuse, solidified Kuklinski's distorted view of life and death, desensitizing him to the sanctity of human life. The trauma he experienced left him emotionally numb, and he began to see violence as a natural and acceptable way to solve problems. This desensitization would become a key factor in his later actions as a contract killer, where he would take lives with chilling detachment and efficiency. Kuklinski's chilling efficiency as a killer attracted the attention of various organized crime families. His willingness to take on any job, no matter how brutal, made him a valuable asset in the underworld. He quickly rose through the ranks, earning a reputation as a ruthless and dependable hitman. One fateful encounter would forever shape Kuklinski's criminal career. While working with a group of thieves, he crossed paths with Roy DeMeo, a high-ranking member of the Gambino crime family. DeMeo, known for his own brutality, recognized Kuklinski's potential and took him under his wing. Under DeMeo's tutelage, Kuklinski honed his skills as a killer. He learned the intricacies of contract killings, from disposal of bodies to maintaining anonymity. DeMeo instilled in Kuklinski the importance of efficiency and detachment, turning murder into a cold, calculated business transaction. It was during this period that Kuklinski began experimenting with different methods of killing, including the use of cyanide and explosives. Section 4. The Tools of the Trade. Kuklinski's Methods. Kuklinski was a chillingly resourceful killer, employing a variety of methods to dispatch his victims. His methods were as varied as they were brutal, showcasing a dark ingenuity that made him a formidable figure in the criminal underworld. His arsenal of death ranged from traditional firearms to more unconventional tools like crossbows and chainsaws. Each weapon was chosen with a specific purpose in mind, tailored to the needs of the moment and the nature of his target. He took pride in his ability to kill quickly and efficiently, often studying anatomy books to target vital organs and inflict maximum damage. This meticulous study of human anatomy allowed him to execute his kills with surgical precision, ensuring that his victims had little chance of survival. Perhaps the most infamous aspect of Kuklinski's modus operandi was his use of freezing his victims. This method was not just about killing, it was about control and manipulation, extending his influence even after death. He believed that freezing a body made it more difficult for forensic investigators to determine the time of death, giving him a crucial advantage. This tactic bought him time, allowing him to plan his next move while authorities were left in the dark. Kuklinski would store bodies in industrial freezers, sometimes for months, before disposing of them in various locations to further confuse authorities. This method of body disposal was both a practical and psychological tool, spreading fear and uncertainty among those who might cross his path. Kuklinski's cold-blooded approach extended beyond the act of killing itself. He was a master of covering his tracks, ensuring that no trace of his presence could be found. This meticulous attention to detail was a hallmark of his criminal career. He was meticulous in covering his tracks, often using aliases, disguises, and stolen vehicles to avoid detection. These measures were not just about evading capture, they were about creating a web of deception that made it nearly impossible for law enforcement to pin him down. He rarely worked with the same accomplices twice and maintained a strict code of silence, refusing to divulge information that could compromise his operations or implicate his associates. This code of silence was a crucial part of his strategy, ensuring that his network remained loyal and that his secrets stayed buried. Kuklinski's methods were not just about brute force. They were about strategy and psychological warfare. He meticulously planned each move, considering every possible outcome and preparing for any eventuality. This level of planning made him a ghost, a phantom that authorities struggled to catch. In the digital age, Kuklinski adapted his methods to include erasing digital footprints and destroying any evidence that could be traced back to him. This adaptability was key to his longevity in the criminal world, allowing him to stay one step ahead of law enforcement. Kuklinski's legacy is one of fear and mystery, a testament to the dark capabilities of a mind bent on survival and dominance. His methods, though brutal, were a chilling reminder of the lengths to which one can go to maintain power and control. Section 5. A chilling lack of remorse. What truly set Richard Kuklinski apart from other contract killers was his utter lack of remorse. Unlike others who might have shown some sign of regret or hesitation, Kuklinski was a cold, calculating machine. His ability to detach himself from the humanity of his victims was both terrifying and fascinating. He killed without hesitation, without emotion, and without a shred of guilt. Each hit was executed with precision, as if he were merely performing a routine task. The absence of any emotional response made his actions even more chilling. In his mind, his victims were nothing more than obstacles to be removed, problems to be solved. He approached each murder with the same mindset one might use to solve a complex puzzle, methodically and without personal involvement. He saw himself as a businessman, providing a service that others were too squeamish to handle. To him, murder was just another transaction, a job that needed to be done. This perspective allowed him to distance himself from the moral implications of his actions. This chilling detachment was evident in the interviews he gave later in life. When questioned about his crimes, Kuklinski's demeanor remained unnervingly calm. He spoke with a level of detachment that was almost clinical, as if he were discussing someone else's actions rather than his own. He spoke about his crimes with a disturbing matter-of-factness, describing the gruesome details of his murders with the same emotional range as someone discussing the weather. His lack of emotional response was not only unsettling, but also provided a glimpse into the mind of a man who had completely dehumanized his victims. He showed no empathy for his victims, often dismissing their deaths as just business. This lack of empathy was a key component of his ability to kill so many without any apparent psychological burden. To Kuklinski, the lives he took were merely collateral damage in the pursuit of his goals. Kuklinski's chilling lack of remorse was a testament to the profound darkness that resided within him. This darkness was not something that developed overnight, but was the result of a lifetime of violence and neglect. It was a darkness forged in the fires of a brutal upbringing, nurtured by years of violence and indifference, and ultimately unleashed upon the world with terrifying consequences. His early life was marked by abuse and hardship, experiences that undoubtedly shaped his worldview and his capacity for violence. The combination of a traumatic childhood and a life of crime created a perfect storm, resulting in a man who could kill without a second thought. Kuklinski's story serves as a grim reminder of the potential for darkness within us all, and the devastating impact it can have when left unchecked.